You can't make this stuff up. You just can't make this stuff up. News flash coming out of Madison, Wisconsin. Milwaukee teachers dropped their VIAGRA suit. The Milwaukee Teachers Union has dropped a lawsuit seeking to get its taxpayer-funded VIAGRA back. See, that's what had them so angry. That's why they were protesting. The union sued in July 2010 to force the school board to again include the erectile dysfunction drug and similar pills in its health insurance. The union has argued the board's policy of excluding such drugs from the plans discriminates against male employees. There's so many things I wish I could say right now. The board has countered that the 2005 move was meant to save money. No, it wasn't. You just like being cruel to us. You don't know what it's like. No, I said you were incompetent. I didn't say anything else. Court records indicate attorneys for the union, the school board, and the State Labor and Industry Review Commission agreed to dismiss the suit on March 1st. Messages for all three groups' attorneys weren't immediately returned. You think they got a call from the head of the teachers union? Listen, Mark Levin's group, the Landmark Foundation, just busted us 2 weeks ago for the fact that we didn't disclose all this money we've been giving to Democratic candidates. And now I got you guys out there in court trying to get your little blue pills back. This is not good. And then over the weekend it emerges, $7.5 million of damage to the state capitol by these union goon thug teachers. Then there was the undercover operative who caught them on tape getting fake sick notes. I'm going to say whoever is doing PR for the Milwaukee teachers and the Wisconsin teachers is doing double duty for Charlie Sheen. These people are spiraling out of control. They have become a national joke. They filed a lawsuit against the school board because the school board, the taxpayers, won't pay for their VIAGRA. Won't pay for their VIAGRA. Now put that into perspective for a moment. Put that into perspective for a moment. What else are they getting the taxpayer to pay for? Some of them making over $100,000 a year. Over $100,000 a year to be a teacher, to work 9 months a year. And don't you dare send me an email. Don't even think about it. Telling me, Michael, that's not right. Teachers work hard. Soldiers work hard. A first-year E1 in the United States military in Afghanistan who could be killed at any minute makes $17,000 a year. But they get some of their stuff provided. Not much. Anything they break, misuse, lose, or anything else they have to pay for themselves. $17,000 a year. That's an actual year. You people are paid on 9 months. But, Michael, it's not right. You're picking on teachers. If you can read, thank a teacher. I can read because my mother taught me how. It doesn't take a village. It takes a parent. Parents give schools money and hire teachers to do their job during part of the day and show areas of expertise that the parents may not have had. And an increasing number of parents are pulling their kids out of the public schools because the teachers aren't teaching and the schools are not employing policies that teach. That's what's going on in America. You know, I say this all the time. These are the worst of times, but these are the best of times. Because average, everyday Americans have become aware there is a consequence to the overspending by government. There is a consequence to leaving politics to politicians. There is a consequence for the everyday taxpayer to not being involved while teachers, unions, and all sorts of other thugs that have been living off your money while they suck up your tax dollars and while they trade their votes for political commitments for long-term payoffs that your grandchildren will have to pay. These are the best of times because Americans have seen that unions, public unions, when pushed against a wall, what's good for the country or what's good for their union will go out and fight for what's good for them and not what's good for their state or their country, even if it means little blue pills the taxpayers have to pay for. Michael Berry, In for Mark Levin, more coming up.
If you've got a telephone and you know how to use it, call Mark Levin at 877-381-3811.
So Congressman Peter King decides we're going to hold hearings on the threat to our people by radical Muslims. Okay, seems reasonable. I mean, we've had hearings on whether Roger Clemens got injected in the butt by his trainer 10 years ago and took steroids. We've had hearings on whether the NFL players are getting paid enough. We've had hearings on pretty much every stupid thing that nobody cares about. Here's a guy that wants to have a hearing on something that's on the minds of most every American. And he comes under attack, as you might imagine, by CARE and the other groups who run around attacking anyone who questions whether there is a problem with Muslim fundamentalists. And now we've had the flailing of the arms and the desperate need for us all to say that most Muslims are good people. Really? Do we really need to do that? Do we need to keep... Are you not a little insulted? Are you not a little insulted? Is it not pitiful in our country today? If we were to hold a hearing on 9/11, let's deal with the 19 guys that came here and what they did. Now, I want to point out that Muslims is good people in this country. They're good people. Most of them's really, really, really good. It's just a handful or a few thousand that's trying to kill us. But the rest is really good. Okay, well, I think you doth protest too much. Why do you have to keep saying that? The fact that you need to keep saying that makes me wonder, who are you trying to appease? Isn't it interesting how much time this president and this media spends telling us Katie Couric told us we need a Muslim Cosby show. The president went on a Muslim world tour to tell the Muslim world. What does that mean? Do you realize when they talk about the Muslim world, do you realize that you don't have a Muslim passport? You can't sign up to serve in the Muslim army, or can you? You don't pay your taxes to the Muslim government. You don't have Muslim border patrol. You don't have Muslim codes of law. Or do you? You see, we deal with people by nationality, not by religion, linguistic pattern, height, or anything else. When someone appears at a airport, they're required to show documentation of the country from which they originate. The country, not the religion. What did it mean for this president to go to Cairo as his first major foreign trip and apologize to Muslims for the fact that we once had slavery? What did it mean that was billed as a tour of the Muslim world? What did it mean that he said in so many words he was addressing the Muslim world? Did that mean people of that religion regardless of their country? Did that mean Muslims in India, Malaysia, Indonesia, Pakistan, America? So now he was singling out and discriminating. That's treating like things dissimilarly. He was now saying, I'm speaking to people from this religion. We've never had anything like that happen. That's unprecedented. So now Congressman Peter King is holding a hearing on something that actually matters, the radicalization of young Muslim men in this country. The hearings are entitled, The Extent of Radicalization in the American Muslim Community and the Community's Response. And we've got CARE jumping up and down and the media getting behind them. 200 of them, that's the report, 200 of them converged on Times Square. 200 people in Times Square is not exactly a crowd. This isn't Tahrir Square. 200 people is nothing to get excited about. And even if it were 2,000 or 200,000, what do I care? Elaine Brower, a member of the Coalition to Stop Islamophobia, says, Peter King himself is throwing gasoline on an already existing fire. Ooh, bad analogy, ma'am. Elaine Brower, a member of the Coalition to Stop Islamophobia. She says, this will result in killing too many people in the name of national security. Who's being killed exactly, lady? How many Muslims are killed by other Americans because of their religion? How many? Just curious. We keep being told Nadal Hassan gets passed from department to department in the United States Army. And in my home state of Texas here, he goes through Fort Hood, shooting the place up, screaming Allah Akbar, killing innocent Americans in the United States military in the name of radical Islam. And what's the first thing our president rushes to tell us? Isolated incident, don't attack Muslims. A Muslim in Germany shoots and kills 2 American servicemen, wounds 2 others, and had a clip big enough to kill many more. The first thing our president tells us, we don't know why he did this. We don't believe this is terrorism. Don't hurt Muslims. Has anybody even threatened to hurt Muslims? One of the few times this president got off his duff and did anything other than take a vacation was to call the pastor down in Florida and tell him don't burn the Bibles. His whole administration was calling the pastor down in Florida. Don't burn the Bibles. You'll make the Muslims mad. Well, if you wanted to tell me that a religion is radical, all you have to tell me is that burning their holy book makes millions of people take to the streets and start harming people. Because you can burn Bibles or the American flag or most anything else, and I don't think Americans are going to take to the street and start harming anybody. Certainly not Christians or Jews. What are you saying when you say that? At what point do you stop telling non-Muslim Americans how much they need to love their Muslim neighbors and how important this 1% or 2% of our population is? At what point do you start saying, we're going to deal with criminals and nobody else has anything to worry about? And the other 98% of you, don't worry. Anybody who's a bad guy in this country will be dealt with swiftly, justly. And if they're not a bad guy, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to take the law into your own hands. I got it covered. Because what you're really telling me is, I'm not going to deal with these problems until some buildings are blown up and some people are killed. And my idea of dealing with it is going to be telling you that it was an isolated incident when you know better. By the way, you're all going to be groped at the airport because one Muslim coming from Africa tried to hide a bomb in his britches. All of you are going to be groped because any of you could be terrorists, even though none of you are terrorists. By the way, Bill Clinton reminds me that 15 years ago, one nutball blew up the Murrah building. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting how irrational our response to this is. And interesting how this president behaves in the face of all this. Interesting that groups are now claiming it's Islamophobia to hold a hearing on the radicalization of the American Muslim community. Is it? Is it really?